So wait, shifting focus here. We're not actually going to PS2. We're actually going to smaller Battlefield, condensing that down into a little bit of a tighter PS2.
Okay.
How does this affect the Game & Watch, just really briefly before we start?
I mean, Game & Watch, I don't think it's really going to matter that much personally because it's not going to change too much of
Whoa,
that.
That's a bucket.
Yeah. Now, that arc fire bucket's not the strongest, but it is fun to have, and people got to remember when bucket comes out, it's actually like frame 2. And there's a lot of ways, but he actually has a lot of confirms in the bucket as well. Like, he can just jab in the bucket and all kinds of crazy stuff. So.
And it looks like one thing that we didn't really hint on was the relative shield safety of Game & Watch and then having immediate follow-ups off it with the up B.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big deal. Robin doesn't really have a way to deal with, you know, touching Game & Watch's shield, except the fact that, yeah, when the what is it, the strong sword comes out, the 11 sword?
Yes.
Yeah, those aerials are a little bit safer. But, you know, any damage that you're going to see on Game & Watch, I mean, Game & Watch can, you know, counter that on Robin just with some good edge guarding or some strong punishes. Like, you know, if he misspaces an arc fire, for example, he can just bury him with the down smash and get like an easy kill off that.
So level 1, so I like how iGreg kind of used that as like a bait almost to get a decision out of Dusk and then punish him for it immediately with the 11 sword, but 83% resting on. This is still a little bit of a scary place if you are Robin against Game & Watch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just like that. Robin actually has a hard time kind of getting back down to the stage versus Game & Watch. And that's where, like, there's a lot of aspects of Game & Watch's play that isn't necessarily the strongest, notably, like, you know, certain aspects of his neutral and, like, trying to force situations. Robin's not one of those characters. Like, Robin's not, like, a character that has, like, insane frame data or anything, and he has a sword, but, like, some of the time. So it's like, because of that, it's not something that Game & Watch is ever going to feel like constantly pressured by or really have to change his game plan. Game & Watch's general game plan actually works pretty decently on Rose.
Yeah, and looking at this right now, you can see that iGreg has like really done a good job just using these larger swatting aerials to try and deter Game & Watch from coming into the stage. Like right here, perfect job keeping him out.
Well, the big thing about fighting Game & Watch, which iGreg is doing perfectly, is you want to always have the lead versus Game & Watch. Game & Watch is way more manageable to fight when he's fighting you from behind. And that's because a lot of his holes in his game plan are generally created by him chasing after you. You know what I mean? So as long as he's doing that, that's when you can find those opportunities to kind of snowball things out of control. So iGreg is actually playing this super great. He's playing it exactly how he needs to. He's keeping Game & Watch behind in percent and then making him chase him, and that's what's leaving these openings for him to get.
Again, Dusk not letting anything free happen right now. There is no free lunge with him, trying to find any way to stuff out iGreg, closing this stock out.
Yeah, and you see he whiffed that Nosferatu, and there's going to be those situations like that where if you're whiffing stuff versus Game & Watch like that, you know, he can get really hard punishes for it. So.
And again, we see this, how Dusk is able to capitalize off of one simple whiff and then just turn it into a stock.
Yeah, like Dusk, like he's playing in a sense where he doesn't really, like he has to be careful, but he also, you could tell he still feels completely comfortable. He doesn't feel like he has to take too many risks because he feels like he can always just make this back because it's like the nature of the character. He does have to obviously be careful though, and he has to watch out, but he does get grabbed there.
I do like the use of the Nosferatu, almost calling out those empty jumps to deter Dusk from doing anything in the series. But oh, a greedy play from that Judgment Hair, but it wasn't enough to get punished.
Yeah. Game & Watch survives. Now this is obviously a hard situation for Game & Watch. You're on the ledge versus a character like Robin. Manages to sneak by. How's he going to land? Robin not taking any risks. Smart from iGreg.
And remember, no 11 sword right now, so we have to wait. It's going to be coming back.
Jumps right into the grab. That was crazy how active that was.
But now it's back. Now we have that 11 sword online.
Now this is bad. This is what I was talking about now. Oh, nice. Great play from iGreg there, utilizing that range. But yeah, that's one of the things. That game wasn't really as far out of the range of Game & Watch, just landing something simple like a quick down smash, getting a bury, and getting a kill from it. So, I mean, iGreg is playing the matchup great. Now, if he can start off this next match again with like a strong like lead like that, yeah, I mean, he basically just doesn't want to let Dusk dictate the pace of the match. That's when it's going to get to that point where you see Game & Watch and you're like, oh God, here we go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, man. I mean, one thing that's hearkening in my mind right now is, where do you even take Greg right now? It looked like he was so comfortable in that small space, but you know, answering the question for me, we're going back to small battlefield. Do you think there's any downside to this?
No, I mean, like, yes. I mean, yes, in the sense of like, see, the thing is, iGreg, he kind of likes the smaller stage because he doesn't have to chase iGreg as hard. Because that's, you know, it could get even worse when iGreg has that lead. You know, if the stage was bigger, it could be even harder to deal with all the stage control that these projectiles from Robin create.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, already Dusk looking to get a quick combo off and racking up 36% off that grab. And like you said, once Game & Watch does get in, he is just going to run you down and constantly put you in that disadvantaged situation.
Yeah. I mean, what Robin really has going for him most of anything in this matchup is the sword. That range is strong and it has a lot of, or the range, sorry, the sword is strong and it has a lot of range. So both of those aspects make it kind of hard sometimes to contest Robin in the air-to-air situations, which is generally where Game & Watch kind of bullies a lot of other characters that aren't traditional sword characters.
Yeah, I mean, but if you look at this right now, this is pretty much an even game. I mean, sure, we just saw that berry, but that 11 sword almost taking out Game & Watch very quickly. iGreg playing such a methodical game, trying to keep Game & Watch in disadvantage and make him play from behind.
Yeah, and he's playing around his shield really well. He's spacing everything. Oh, he gets that parry then. That was like he needed that parry because that might have broke his shield otherwise. Those bacon confirms. Yeah. And see, that's that situation I'm talking about. Like, if Robin gets put off stage, like, there's really not a lot of options Robin has to get back to stage safely because he doesn't have a hitbox above him or anything. And Game & Watch has so many ways to just dispatch that recovery. He can even bucket off it if he wants to get cheeky, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and I can see that right now. We have Dusk sitting at like a cool 139%. But now you have to find a way to get past that ledge trap and using the bucket to rack to kind of just stun and stop that damage. But the Nosferatu is just continually calling out Dusk. I think there has to be an adaptation being made here.
Yeah, I mean, what iGreg could do a little bit better is he needs to find his footing, which Dusk isn't allowing him to. You see how the pace of the match is being dictated now by Game & Watch? It's because he has that lead. That's how important it is to have a lead versus Game & Watch. It's kind of like fighting Sonic. Like, it dictates, like, whoever gets the lead first really has a lot of power in the direction that this match goes. But great play coming out from Dusk here. Just great awareness and just great, controlling the stage. Great pressure being exerted here on Robin.
Yeah, and right now I like how Dusk is using almost an option of do nothing and wait and see how iGreg is going to react as a way to try and get a behavior read on iGreg.
Well, he can do that versus Robin. Generally speaking, the characters that Game & Watch does well against are the characters he can do that. The characters that he can't do that against, like the characters like Cloud, who have a sword and are fast and can just like kind of bully Game & Watch's shield that a lot of characters can't do. Those are the ones he struggles with. But these kind of characters are kind of like Game & Watch is kind of designed to give a hard time. You know what I mean? Like Robin doesn't have anything to deal with this.
Yeah, I mean, again, part of it is how do you land versus Game & Watch. He's very prone to just bully you in these situations ad nauseum. Yeah.
And I mean, like, sometimes, I mean, look, just, okay, you desperately throw out a projectile trying to get some sort of pressure release, and he just up-Bs you for it and then puts you back in the air for more juggles.
I mean, right now you got to take a look at how iGreg is trying to find a way to close this game. I mean, 2 stocks on Dusk right now. You have to start thinking of a quick way to get back into this game. You know, the bronze sword is almost about to turn into that 11. There it is. This could be the equalizer.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely needs that. It's definitely not outrageous for Robin to pull this off right now. But he just needs to prioritize not getting put in disadvantage and not ending up off stage. If he can do that, it's definitely possible for him.
Yeah, and I think to that point right now, you can see Dusk is just having such a phenomenal use of stage control, and the stage spike will do it. Dusk evening up the set.
Now, the thing a lot of people don't understand about when Game & Watch goes off stage with aerials like that, I know some people feel like, well, you could just tech that, but teching Game & Watch's moves off stage is actually very difficult. There's a lot of mix-ups he can do. He can pull himself away from you. That has a different timing on the tech. He can pull himself into the stage. That has a different timing. And then he has, you know, if he's nair in that situation, sometimes you don't know how many hits you're going to get hit by. So there's a lot of ambiguity there. And then even if you tech it, he can up B again. And then you don't know if you have to tech a second time or not. So that's why it's like super important for a character like Robin with one of the more exploitable type of recoveries not to end up in that situation. You need to get that lead from the get-go and hold it, because you don't want to. That's the game you don't want to play, and that's how you beat Game & Watch.
You know, one thing that you kind of have to worry about right now is how I think iGreg is going to adapt to this. You know, I think Dusk has figured out a game plan to stuff iGreg on these smaller stages. Something like Town is a great option here, maybe even Kalos in some regard. Yeah. We can see the hover on Town. This seems like it would be a good idea, but remember, Dusk does have a pocket Roy.
Yeah, and that is true. I think in general, though, it might just benefit him to have that more space, because, yeah, the first game, he kind of just managed to get the lead first, so that, you know, worked out. But in the second game, not having space to run away really hurt him. He had nowhere to retreat to when he was getting juggled. Now it's a little bit different. And then in some moments, the stage turns into Final Destination, which also hurts Game & Watch, because those platforms really help his juggle game. So.
Yeah, and I think right now we can see that Dusk is just trying to establish some level of a ground game, but I don't think it's a winning battle when you're trying to fight Robin air to air, especially in this situation. Yeah, juggles are very paramount to your success, but dominating that ground game against Robin is so important early on. Yeah,
definitely. You don't want her or him, whichever Robin you get, to really have that space to set up their ledge traps and their game plan.
And I mean, right now, iGreg is just covering a couple same options right now. We have the full bucket. Yeah. I do wonder if the immediate use of the bucket was to cover that fire that he knew was coming at the ledge. But right now, gotta focus on getting out. But
actually, I feel like he did the bucket mostly. He didn't want the bucket was weak anyway. It's because he had an arc fire in there and like the multi-hit of like the strong version of the L Thunder. Oh, there's that edge guarding. Yeah, this is hard for Robin to deal with. Robin doesn't really have answers for this situation.
Yeah, I mean, again, Robin doesn't have answers for the situation, but we just saw that Dusk got exploded off of a simple interaction at the ledge that led to an up air. So right now, your goal has to be, like you said, establishing advantage and keeping that momentum on.
Yeah. I mean, because if Robin is able to play his game, like, Game & Watch feels cheap versus certain characters until you, like, lose that lead, and then when they actually get to play their game, you're like, oh, this character doesn't feel as good as he's supposed to be.
Ooh.
Oh. See, and that's a huge, now, Dusk is playing from behind, and this is where it gets hard for him. Because, like I said, a lot of the holes in Game & Watch's game plan come from when he's forcibly chasing you.
Yeah, but right now I don't think he will be actively chasing him the whole time. One thing that I could see changing is maybe Dusk goes back to that slower game plan style, try and get iGreg to take an option and then punish him with these projectiles that he keeps grabbing after they're depleted.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has the ability to do those things. Oh my God, he gets hit back smash. He definitely has the ability to get strong enough punishes that he can just kind of pick and choose his moments. It does get hard sometimes because Game & Watch is so light, and like you're kind of worried about dying at any random moment.
I mean, right now we got to find a way to get back into this.
Like that neutral layer is kind of like a desperate neutral layer. Oh.
The Thoron takes it out.
Yeah.
Dusk.
Great play from iGreg. He really understood how the kids say he understood the assignment. I guess he understood what he had to do in order to kind of make Game & Watch less threatening. And yeah, I mean, once he really got that stock lead, that's when things got really hard for Dusk. And that's just the thing about Game & Watch. His lightweight makes it so that, even as a strong character, things can spiral out of control if he isn't like super on point all the time.
Yeah, it wasn't a 100% blowout in terms of the gameplay that was coming out from Dusk,